Sophie wiped her hands on her apron, stepping back to admire the rows of ripe grapevines stretching under the golden sunlight. Her family's vineyard had been her world since she could remember, a place of beauty, tradition, and relentless work. She loved the quiet rhythm of life here, even as financial challenges loomed over the land like a storm cloud. For Sophie, the vineyard wasn't just a business. It was her family's legacy, a symbol of perseverance passed down through generations. Yet the whispers of debt had grown louder, forcing her parents to consider drastic measures. That morning, Sophie had overheard her father's tense phone call with someone from the city. The words negotiation and buyer made her heart sink. When a sleek black car pulled up later that afternoon, her stomach churned. Out stepped a man in a tailored suit, his confident demeanor a stark contrast to the vineyard's rustic charm. "I'm Lucas," he said, extending a hand. "Here to discuss your options." Sophie's eyes narrowed. She wasn't ready to lose the place she called home. Sophie folded her arms, her gaze steady as she faced Lucas. "We're not selling," she said firmly, her voice unwavering despite the unease swirling inside her. Lucas smiled, a calculated yet disarming expression. "I understand your attachment," he said, glancing at the vineyard's sprawling expanse. "But I think you'll want to hear what I have to offer." Her father appeared, wiping his hands on his worn jeans. "Sophie, let's at least listen," he said, his tone weary. Reluctantly, she followed them into the small farmhouse kitchen. Over the next hour, Lucas laid out his proposal: investment, modernization, partnerships that could secure the vineyard's future. His words were polished, his confidence unshakable. Sophie, however, saw through the charm. To her, Lucas's promises felt hollow, the veneer of a man who didn't understand the soul of the land. As the meeting ended, Lucas turned to her. "This isn't just business," he said softly. "I believe in this place." Sophie met his gaze but remained silent. For now, her mind was set. This vineyard wasn't just soil and vines, it was her heart. Over the next few days, Lucas lingered at the vineyard, observing the day-to-day operations. Sophie found his presence intrusive at first, but her parents welcomed his willingness to help. He rolled up his sleeves, stepping into the world of pruning vines and hauling crates. One afternoon, as Sophie worked under the sun, she noticed Lucas struggling to balance a basket overflowing with grapes. Despite herself, she chuckled. "You're holding it wrong," she said, approaching him. "Oh?" Lucas raised an eyebrow, his smile playful. "Care to show me the proper technique?" Sophie sighed, taking the basket and demonstrating. "It's about balance. You can't just force it." "Like everything in life, I suppose," Lucas mused, his voice quieter now. Their eyes met for a fleeting moment, and Sophie quickly looked away. Lucas had a way of catching her off guard, making her see a different side of him, one less polished, more human. That evening, Lucas joined her family for dinner. As he complimented her mother's cooking and laughed at her father's stories, Sophie saw how easily he could blend into their world. It was disarming. But Sophie reminded herself charm could be deceiving. The vineyard buzzed with activity the following morning, but Sophie's focus remained on Lucas. Despite her reservations, she couldn't deny he was growing on her. He seemed genuinely interested in the vineyard's traditions and its people, or so she thought. Later that day, while tidying the farmhouse, Sophie overheard a phone call. Lucas's voice was low, but the words cut through her like a cold wind. "Yes, I'll be back in the city for the engagement party," he said. "No, it doesn't change anything. This is strictly business." Sophie's heart sank. "Engagement party?" She stepped into the doorway, her expression a mix of disbelief and hurt. Lucas turned, startled. "Sophie, I can explain." "Explain what?" She interrupted. "That you're engaged? That this is all just some calculated move for your benefit." "It's not what you think," Lucas said, his tone pleading. "My engagement, it's complicated. It's more a partnership than anything real." Sophie shook her head, stepping back. "You lied," she said, her voice trembling. "And I was starting to trust you." As she walked away, the weight of betrayal settled over her. Trust was fragile, and Lucas had shattered hers. Lucas didn't leave after Sophie's confrontation. Instead, he stayed, determined to make amends. Days passed, and Sophie kept her distance, pouring herself into the vineyard's work. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Sophie found the farmhouse unusually quiet. When she stepped outside, a soft glow lit up the garden near the vines. Lanterns hung from trellises, casting a warm light over a small table set for two. Lucas stood nearby, his expression tentative. "I know you don't want to hear me out," he began, "but I needed to show you how much this place and you mean to me." Sophie hesitated, her resolve wavering. She sat reluctantly as Lucas served dishes inspired by the vineyard's produce. "This isn't just business for me anymore," he said. "I've realized that my life in the city feels hollow. Being here has shown me what really matters." Sophie studied him, searching for sincerity. "You hurt me, Lucas. I don't know if I can trust you again." "I'll prove it to you," he promised, "whatever it takes." For the first time, Sophie saw vulnerability in his eyes. The choice before her wasn't easy, but something deep inside whispered she should give him and herself a chance. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty, but also hope. Lucas kept his word, showing up early to help with the vineyard's work, learning the traditions Sophie cherished so deeply. Slowly, her guarded heart began to thaw. One evening, as the golden light of dusk bathed the vineyard, Lucas approached Sophie with a hesitant smile. "I've made my decision," he said. Sophie turned to him, her expression unreadable. "I broke off the engagement," Lucas admitted, his voice steady. "It wasn't real, and I can't keep living a life that feels so far from who I want to be, and I want to be here with you." Tears welled in Sophie's eyes, but she didn't look away. For the first time, his words felt unvarnished, stripped of charm and pretense. "I can't promise it'll be easy," Sophie said quietly. "This vineyard, this life, It demands everything. I'm ready, Lucas replied, for everything. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the vines in a soft glow, Sophie allowed herself a smile. Together, they stood at the heart of the vineyard, knowing the path ahead would be difficult, but worth it. The vineyard, after all, wasn't just soil and vines. It was where love and legacy intertwined. Congratulations! Today you learned new expressions and saw how to use them in an exciting story. Remember, learning a new language is like cultivating a vineyard. It takes time, care, and constant practice, but the results are worth it. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel and keep learning with our stories. Until next time.